Hey guys, Ghost here, and today I'll be taking a look at what's new in Battlefront this February. Firstly, we have a brand new map named Twilight on Hoth, and just like the previous map on Jakku, it's absolutely free. I have to commend DICE on that. A lot of people were rather surprised to have only 4 maps for each game mode upon release, so it is nice to see that they're working on beefing up the map pool. What's more, there are also a wide variety of game modes to be played on the map, specifically Walker Assault, Supremacy, Turning Point, Fighter Squadron, Drop Zone, and Heroes vs Villains. I honestly would have only expected the first 3 of those, so that's come as a nice surprise. As you can see, the map is set at dusk, no doubt drawing upon inspiration and experiences from Battlefield 4's night maps, and as has come to be expected from Battlefront and indeed the Frostbite engine in general, it's absolutely gorgeous. For those interested, the map is also playable as a new survival mission, if that's your cup of tea. Personally, I prefer coffee, so I generally spend my Battlefront time playing multiplayer. Additionally, due to popular demand, the Turning Point game mode introduced with the Battle of Jakku DLC has now been extended for play on the other 4 base game maps as well as the new Twilight map. Personally, I find myself enjoying Turning Point more than the other 2 large-scale game modes, so at least for me that really adds some replayability to the maps. Next up, we're going to dive deep down into those patch notes and take a look at the multiplayer and star card changes. As usual with this type of video, I will cover the more significant changes and leave a link to the full patch for your perusal down in the description below. So firstly, the pre-round timer has been lowered from 30 seconds down to 20. A small change, but a very welcome one. I don't know about you guys, but to me, there's nothing more boring than sitting and waiting between rounds, especially when the timer is, too short to get up and grab a drink or a snack, but too long to just stare at the score screen the whole time. The AT-AT's health has seen a balance across all maps, which should help even out the win percentage for the Imperials and the Rebels, as currently the Rebels do win the majority of the time depending on the map. Now this next change is PC only, but it's well worth knowing about. Air vehicle sensitivity has been lowered from 0.9 to 0.45 for easier mouse control, so it's effectively been halved. So you might want to check your mouse sensitivity before you take to the skies. Oh, and they also finally enlarged the hitboxes on the A-wings so that hitting them should no longer feel like threading a needle. Next, a few hero changes. Luke Skywalker's Saber Rush has seen a damage buff against other heroes, but his default swing has had its radius reduced, so effectively buffing him a little more against heroes, but slightly nerfing him against your common Stormtrooper. Emperor Palpatine's Shock Troopers have had their weapons DPS modified to match that of Leia's Honor Guards. I honestly don't know why these weren't equal in the first place, especially when you have a game mode built around hero battles, but yeah, I guess better late than never. And speaking of Princess Leia, we've gotten a sexy new Endor outfit for her, as a reward for the completion of the Lead the Rebellion mission, which basically entailed the community playing collectively as Princess Leia for a long damn time. Needless to say, we smashed that goal, so well done, and enjoy your new outfit. I know I'd much prefer this outfit than a measly battle pack, so yeah, just saying DICE. Might want to have that under your hat for future titles. Along with this, we've also gotten a number of weapon and star card changes. Primary weapons now do 10% increased damage against air vehicles, and the ion torpedo's speed has been increased by 30 meters per second and its turning angle slightly tweaked in order to more easily hit air vehicles. A lot of you will know that in the January update, some of the more potent star cards like the Bowcaster, Barrage, Homing Shot, practically all the explosive grenades were heavily nerfed to lower the very spammy explosives a bit. Well, most of those weapons have now ceased to be useful whatsoever. They have rebuffed the Bowcaster slightly, where a fully charged direct hit will now do 40 damage instead of 20, and a normal direct hit will do 30 damage instead of 20, but even so, you can't one-shot people with it very effectively anymore, and as a result, there is practically nobody running around with the Bowcaster. And it's much the same story for the homing shot. The lock-on time was almost quadrupled in the January update, from a lightning fast 0.4 seconds all the way down to 1.5 seconds. That's been slightly rolled back now to 1.2 seconds, but it's still pretty pants and will get you killed most of the time. The barrage has gotten a little extra damage and a slightly reduced cooldown, but that's still rather painful to use also. So what does this mean? Well, it means everybody is now running around with the pulse rifle, which many would argue requires a slight nerf itself. The only one we see here is that the player movement speed has decreased whilst aiming by 30%, so not really too big of a deal at all. Now the only rival to the pulse rifle is of course the cycler rifle, which has been getting steadily buffed. In this patch, bullet velocity was increased by 150 meters per second, and player movement speed whilst aiming was increased by 40%, but it still feels way too underpowered. It doesn't one-shot people at range unless it's a headshot, and the pulse rifle does. So therefore, people will always pick the pulse rifle, especially since it instantly hits your target no matter the distance, requiring no lead at all. Some might say that a one-shotting cycler rifle that requires no charge up would be OP, but since this is a cooldown ability, I think if you gave it sufficient bullet drop and bullet travel time to turn it into a real skill cannon, that would be absolutely fine. Then you'd actually have a trade-off between the two weapons. The pulse rifle requires less skill but needs to be charged, and the cycler rifle instantly fires but requires compensation. So, to close out the video, I would like to discuss a little about the Season Pass for Battlefront. As most of you will know, last month DICE gave us a rough description of what will be included in each of the DLCs, and the first of those, Outer Rim, will be releasing in March. Alongside it, we'll be getting another free update in March that will more likely than not contain yet another free map called Survivors of Endor, which can be seen within the client but it's currently unplayable. It looks like Endor on fire though, so since Battlefront is based on the events of the original Star Wars trilogy, I would guess that it takes place after the destruction of the shield generator protecting the second Death Star. Sounds pretty cool. But what about Outer Rim? Just what will we see in this first expansion for our €50 or dollars worth of money? Well, more maps, weapons, heroes, and a new game mode, so basically exactly what we were expecting. Although with DICE taking a leaf out of Battlefield 4's book and releasing maps for free, I wonder why they didn't keep those completely out of the Season Pass. Numbers on PC are already dwindling, and it's hard enough to find a game when you want one, so just what exactly is the incentive here for me to purchase the Season Pass if I won't have anyone to play the new maps with? The player count on PC usually hovers around 4 or 5,000, so if 10% of those people pick up the Season Pass, there will only be about 500 players online during the first 2 weeks of early access. Now obviously this problem is mainly on PC and the console numbers are fairly healthy, but even so, this is pretty much the sole reason I don't want to purchase the Season Pass at the moment. It's not because I don't have the money, it's not because I don't like the game, it's because I'm worried that within months or weeks after each release, I won't be able to play the new maps I've put €50 into purchasing. So maybe something to consider there for the future titles DICE, like say Battlefield 5? Alright, that's going to do it for this video guys. Like I said before, the patch notes are down below if you want to take a gander at those. What do you guys think about the whole Season Pass thing? Do you agree with me? Or would you simply not pay that amount of money without the maps being included in there? I'm pretty sure EA won't back down on their pricing, so the only solution would be to substitute something instead of them. So yeah, what would you guys do? Thank you very much for watching the video. Give me a cheeky thumbs up if you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.